educational exchange is a very important component of the US-China people-to-people exchange. However, in recent years, it has faced many obstacles, as mentioned in the report produced by the Carter Center. Can you give some examples of these obstacles? And where are these obstacles coming from?
Let me put my cards on the table. I am of the school that believes that education exchanges benefits to both countries outweigh the perceived risks that could accompany people-to-people exchange, openness, and engagement. Education exchange has long been a pillar in the US-China relationship in building mutual understanding and a long period of peace and stability for both countries. While government-to-government relations may fracture, as I've said many times, people-to-people relations endure. Traditionally, this pillar has been protected, insulated from politics. But the rising tensions and competition between the US and China prompted the Trump administration to curtail visas, particularly for Chinese STEM students. By the way, Tim, are you a STEM student or no?
I was. I studied computer science.
That led Trump's White House to even consider banning all Chinese students. Now, what does that remind you of? The banning of the exclusion of Chinese immigrants in the 19th century. History repeats itself if we don't understand history. The FBI under the Trump administration, moreover, used the term whole of society in reference to Chinese efforts to spy on the US and steal intellectual property, a stark departure from the previous use of the term whole of government. The FBI also has testified before Congress that Chinese espionage poses the greatest threat, the greatest danger to American security. Its subsequent launch of the China Initiative led to investigations against 148 suspects, 90% of whom, guess what, was of Chinese ethnicity, Chinese heritage. Research indicates that racial profiling has condemned many ethnic Chinese scientists to espionage before they were found guilty of any crimes. The Biden administration ended the China Initiative in February of 2022. But it has not changed the previous administration's visa policies or restored the Fulbright and Peace Corps programs in China. This administration, however, has emphasized the difference between the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese government, and the Chinese people. And that is an important difference for us all to recognize. Education exchange took a really huge hit when the two-way travel between the two countries were virtually ended or stopped during the pandemic. I'm sure you have experienced that. It is not surprising that the Wall Street Journal reported that the number of visas issued to Chinese students dropped by over 50% between 2019 and 2022. Meanwhile, it is estimated that only 400 American students remain studying in China today. That is, frankly, shocking to me. These downward trends in educational exchange and the increase in the decoupling of higher education, of academia, pose serious implications for the next generation of professionals working on U.S.-China relations in the U.S.-China field, and for the future of U.S.-China relations. And it will have a sizable impact on the U.S. economy. At its height, Chinese students numbered 370,000, over 370,000, studying across the U.S., and they contributed $15 billion to the U.S. economy. The answer, or the key rather, I think, is to find the balance between protection of our national security, protection against security risks, which are real, but reinvigorate this pillar, important pillar of the U.S.-China relationship, and resume normal education exchange.